You're listening to the Bust Proof Business Podcast, taking your business to the next level by taking you out of it. With our experience and proven results, we'll help you find the success that many crave, but only we can help you achieve. It's time to get started with your host, Greg Murphy.
Hey guys, so this week I did an on-site interview with my friend Dan Meadors in Corbin, Kentucky at his big warehouse where him and his partner Eric Lambert, they have a wholesale business on Amazon, and it's just a great place to be there. It's an amazing warehouse. It's just so interesting how different what they do is to what we do. And they gave me a tour. They showed me everything behind the scenes, and man, it's amazing. At one point, after we recorded this podcast you're going to be listening to, after we recorded the interview, he asked me on a Facebook Live we did in the Bust Proof Business Facebook group. He asked me, he said, "Hey, Greg, do you recognize any of the products that we have here?" And no, I didn't. Some of the products I didn't even know existed. It wasn't things that I was familiar with. None of those were things I had ever seen on the shelves at a local store. It's just really interesting the kinds of things that they find. They just have a system that's absolutely amazing for finding new distributors and manufacturers to work with. They just have a huge, amazing system, and you guys are going to learn a lot from this podcast. It's going to be one that you're going to want to take notes at, listen back to again. Dan's a great guy. He has a teacher's heart, and so it was a good time. Now, after the end of this, we're going to talk about. We always talk about bustproofworkshop.com, but Dan and Eric are going to have a really quick training that we're going to put up there that you can check out by going to bustproofworkshop.com, and you can download that. But it's really interesting, and obviously I think books are best. I still do. But it is certainly interesting to see how they do what they do. And it always does tempt me when I figure out about all these different business models. But I'm going to I'm going to dance with the girl who brung me. And books, in my opinion, are still the way to go. But anyway, so here it is, Dan Meadors in sunny Corbin, Kentucky. Hey guys, it's Greg Murphy from the Bust Proof Business Podcast. I'm here in sunny Corbin, Kentucky with my good friend Dan Meadors. He gave me a tour of his whole operation. Dan is from the Wholesale Formula. How are you doing today, Dan?
Fantastic, man. I also gave you a tour of the whole city of Corbin. It's quite the metropolis, isn't it?
Not especially the wonderful KFC. It was KFC number 1.
The very first KFC. I mean, that's our landmark. That's why people come to sunny Corbin, Kentucky.
Right. It's almost as nice as beautiful Dayton, Ohio. We had some guys come up to Dayton for Bust Proof Live a few weeks ago, and I showed them all the nice things. Like we had right over by our warehouse, we have this hotel where they have water beds and free color TV.
That is amazing. Well, I mean, I've been to your location too. I mean, I've toured the great the Murphy Books facility, and wow, I mean, that's our little facility is not even close to your guys' operation.
Okay, well, he's being a little bashful, but I just toured their warehouse, and the way you guys do things, it's so much different from books. You guys have 7 bajillion of the same item come in that you have to repack, and so first off, why don't you walk us through like a normal product? You find the supplier, and then it comes to your shop, and what happens next?
Sure. Well, what we try to do is we try to turn around everything within 48 to 72 hours is like our standard turnaround times. So like we don't really ever get backed up on product. It's funny because like that was one of the first things I did when I was walking you through is I showed you that, we don't really have very much product in our building. Everything's generally in transit, being received or out the door already. So whenever we're processing products, like you said, we may get in 600 units of something, but our guys, it's all uniform and everything it's processed the same way and put back into cases and back on pallets and ready to ship. So 600 units may take our guys, say, 2.5 hours to process or 2 hours to process. Whereas with books, I know you guys process a bit longer.
It takes quite a bit longer. So I guess before we get too deep in, let's talk a little bit about your history. So how did you get into wholesale? I know that you guys You used to do some nerdy magic stuff in the beginning. You know, when I interviewed Eric, before you answer that, did you get to listen to the podcast? So you guys actually did that My Little Pony. Okay, MLP store.
Okay, so we've got kind of a wild history. Me and Eric met playing Magic: The Gathering. It's a card game, very childish, but it's an awesome game, and we still play it. So that's how we met. And then I started working at a business, a local e-commerce business. And Eric came one day and he was like, "Hey man, I was looking for a job." I knew he was a really smart guy, so I brought him on to that company. And within a year, like we started exploring other business models. You know, that's the thing, is like that entrepreneurial edge kind of like it's always been there for me. And like I've always been looking for ways to make money outside of work. And we started looking at real estate as an option, and then we heard about Amazon and got started there with retail arbitrage. And we were retail arbitrage for about 2.5 years, I think.
And retail arbitrage is just you go to Walmart or the dollar store and you find stuff for less than you can flip it for on Amazon.
Sure, right, exactly. I mean, it was just going into stores and hoping to find come out with product. We did pretty good. But the thing is like you saw our town, it's not very big. So like we were driving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles to find products. So, that got tiring, and we started looking for other business models. We tried private label, and I'll be honest with you, the guys who do that are just way too smart, like way smarter than I am. So we settled on, our little simpleton form of wholesale that it's just, our form of wholesale is very easy. We find brands that we like and feel like we can sell. The product, the products will sell very well for us, and we reach out directly to those brands. And it's just, it's very easy. It's there's not a lot of steps involved.
And you have, so you guys have your, what you call like the dork squad, right? You have your nerds that are just sitting there on the computers all day, finding product. Do you want to talk about the process thing? Okay.
Yeah, we have a team of virtual assistants that basically their job is scanning Amazon for products that meet our criteria. We have certain sets of criteria that make a product good for us, and every product that meets that criteria they put onto a spreadsheet. Well, then another VA uploads that we use a program called Salesforce, and it automates emails out to those vendors. So it starts a little email series and tracks responses and things like that if those vendors don't respond to us. But it also tells us when certain products are very, very good. Like, it's like, whoa, this product's really good. So Salesforce will tell us. And then our internal team, they're the call team. So what they do is they see that these things go onto the call list and then prioritize from there. And then they'll call those companies and try to set up accounts.
Yeah, and so I saw like where your guys work. There's these two guys. That's all they're doing all day. They have a little whiteboard, a little competition between them to figure out exactly who's. And it's just amazing how, and it's just it's just like a lead factory. Your virtual assistants get the leads, and then they sort of handle the close to try to get the new clients. About how many products or brands or whatever do you guys add a week or a month?
It's actually went up pretty significantly in the past few weeks. We're up to probably about 10 new accounts per week, and that's like 10 new accounts with orders, which is really, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about our average order size being $2,000, that's $20,000 extra a week that we're spending right now.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And so how often are you dropping off? Are products dropping off of the list? Actually,
our stick rate is very good. Our stick rate's in the 90%. But we've recently been focusing on a bit more strict criteria, and we've been eliminating some companies ourselves. So I don't count that against our stick rate because their products are still good. It's just it doesn't meet the criteria that we're wanting right now.
And so the goal is to basically trim a little bit of the fat so that you can always expand, but with the staff that you have now, the plan is to just focus on the stuff that hits a certain dollar level or ROI.
Sure. One of the biggest focuses we have a small little mastermind, and we've been talking a lot about this concept in general, and we're becoming more gross profit focused. So it's like instead of being instead of just being driven by volume and sales and things like that, is we're really kind of stepping back and focusing on the amount of money we're making.
Right. So instead of saying, well, maybe selling something for $12 that might make a 40% ROI or whatever, you'd prefer to sell something for $100 that has a lower
20% ROI all day long.
Yeah.
Because in terms of significance, I mean, you got to think about that. It's like the dollar amount you're making on that transaction is so big that it's just worth it. It's worth carrying that lower margin.
And so what it is that makes it work is that you guys are selling so many. You're dealing with products that are selling so quickly that you can handle like lower margins.
Sure. Right. Yeah, I mean, the majority of our products, we try to focus on products that sell, and whenever we get above $50, we like those products to still sell about 40 to 60 times a month. And then, below that threshold, we're trying to sell products 90 times a month at least.
Got you. Okay. So now let's talk a little bit, because there's been a lot of restrictions lately. I know you and I have been emailing back and forth a little bit about the new textbook restrictions, and we'll talk about that. But before we get to that, Nike, I'm not big into anything but books. So a lot of the Amazon stuff that most people talk about is right above my head. But in terms of Nike, the Nike restrictions have really got a lot of people butthurt lately. So what's going on with that? I
mean, same with us. Like we with the arbitrage, like Nike's traditionally an arbitrage item. So it's one of those things. As far as being hurt, it didn't hurt us. But it surprised a lot of people. That's the thing is, Nike shoes are obviously a very popular product online. And a lot of the retail arbitrage, online arbitrage sellers were heavily invested into it because it was so profitable. I mean, you're talking about a marquee brand that's not represented by Amazon, so it was basically open season as far as being able to make money with that product. But Amazon recently introduced Brand Registry 2.0, and there's a pretty key factor in that. And it allows brands to really get down and focus and control their brand online. And the most recent article I saw from Goldman Sachs suggests that Nike is now going to be selling direct on Amazon using Brand Registry and effectively blacklist all other sellers. So they're the only ones allowed to sell their own product on Amazon.
And one of the things that's obviously important to people that sell Nike, but it's also important to understand that this is all about Amazon pushing to have a more controlled platform and something that is more that's less opaque, I guess, to buyers. So they want to control that experience. And there's people that are flipping these shoes that my assumption at least is Amazon would prefer something where they're dealing with the actual supplier, and these items are much more likely to be authentic. And I mean, if it were me, I would prefer to sell however many hundreds of thousands of Nike shoes through one partner than through thousands of partners.
Sure. I mean, that's Amazon got a really bad black eye earlier this year. I think it was this year, maybe late last year, with the whole Birkenstock thing. Birkenstock's pulled all of their products from Amazon and basically said that we don't support any of the sales on the Amazon channel because there were so many counterfeits. And that's like, Amazon's a publicly traded company, so that's like a huge black eye when a major brand pulls out. And then you've had other lawsuits coming through about people with counterfeits and things like that. And it's just really ugly. It makes it look like Amazon supports it. So Amazon went very, obviously this is an extreme measure with the brand restrictions and things like that, but it really does instill customer confidence, which is what you said, controlling that process. It instills great customer confidence to the consumers and really is a boon for everybody's business. At the end of the day, it's hard on the sellers, and I'm sorry to hear about anybody that got hurt by that Nike restriction. It sucks. But at the end of the day, like once you're able to pivot and maneuver in your business, like this is a great thing because it's great for customer confidence, and it's only going to bring more sales to the Amazon platform. You just need to be able to pivot and kind of move with the tide, so to speak. Because
if Amazon ever becomes a platform where people are afraid that you're going to get dodgy items or like an eBay type thrift store spot, that's bad for the entire platform and all third-party sellers.
Right. I mean, it's completely detrimental. So, I mean, it hurts, but at the same token, it's one of the things I think we've been pretty successful doing is we're always looking for, even because, we've been hurt by policies before, and I'm sure you have as well, but it's always looking for always kind of the silver lining. Mm-hmm. And we're always looking to pivot maneuver in favor of how Amazon is trying to build their platform. And I think this is ultimately a great move. It's just kind of inconvenient for a lot of people in the interim.
And that's really the difference in my mind between a business that's strong and sustainable and one that's fragile, where if a policy like that can wipe you out, then your business isn't as solid as it could be. And it's mostly attitude, right? I mean, a lot of people that are coming with this Nike stuff and with the textbook stuff we'll talk about, that, what's the end of the world, woe is me, and Amazon is screwing over its sellers and all of the other negativity.
Right, and that's just not the case. I mean, you mentioned a policy change earlier with the fee change with books.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just that's one of the things is you started telling me how you were adapting to it and things like that. It's just as long as you're looking for the ways to change your business to be in compliance with these policies, like that's it's generally beneficial because other sellers are too stubborn to do it, and you lose competition along the way. I feel like.
You certainly do. So let's talk about so you sent me an email a few days ago. There's you might not know this, but in our Facebook group and among the book people, there's been just an atom bomb has been dropped in the community where people are terrified about these textbook restrictions. And I mean, I'll talk about what I think about them first, but why don't you talk about the email that you sent me and some of your suggestions?
Sure. This was one of those things. Again, we're in our own little world, so this was brand new news to me, and I had to tell my buddy Greg as fast as possible. So I was like, "Oh God, I got to tell Greg." But apparently, he already knew about it, so I was probably weeks late to the party. But as far I saw that they were restricting textbooks, and I knew that's a big part of your business, and I realized that that's a big part of a lot of thrifting booksellers' business. Like the people who are going to Goodwills and stuff like that. You find a textbook, and it's quite a hit. Like, I mean, you're making a good sum of money right there. So I knew it was a real part of people's businesses, and it was one of those things where the first thing that popped into my head is it's so easy to get authorized. Like on the wholesale side, we've been dealing with authorization and brand restriction for well over a year now. So this is nothing. This is nothing new for us. So I wanted to tell Greg that, hey man, if you go through this process, all you need to do is get a few wholesale accounts with McGraw-Hill or a couple of other textbook companies. I don't even know who they are, and set up an account with them and start placing a few orders, just so you can show Amazon those invoices to get approved for the textbook categories. Now I realize that textbooks is not a category on Amazon, and it's the same thing as health and personal care. Is they have subcategories like topical. And topical is one of those things where if you want to sell topical and you're not approved to sell topical, you have to submit invoices and pay some amount of money. I think it's like $3,000 or something to be approved to sell topical products. So it seems like Amazon is using that same subcategory mentality with books and particularly textbooks.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of think I think this might blow over a little bit for used textbooks. What I have seen is I saw an article the other day about how 3 of the major textbook publishers are suing 100 sellers on the Amazon marketplaces, accusing them of selling fraudulent books.
Oh wow!
Because what happened, and in my opinion, some of them probably are fakes, counterfeits. But what happens is a lot of times people are buying books from overseas, like in India editions and things like that, and then importing them and selling them on the Amazon platform under the U.S. edition ASIN, which is against Amazon's terms. but it's not a fake book. It's just not the book they're saying that it is, right? So it's not. So what they need to do, that's obviously the wrong way to go about it, but it's also not it's not as though they're taking a book and photocopying it and making like, it's not counterfeit.
Right.
So, and so I think that that's one of the things that Amazon's trying to do, is to kind of crack down and shrink the supply chain.
Sure. I mean, it sounds like, but if you think about it from that perspective, this is a great solution to solve that problem. Right. Like, it's requiring people to get authorized, and even if you're right, it may blow over with particularly with used. I hope it does, such that it doesn't cause your business any problems or any of your guys' community any problems. But if it doesn't, I think there's a real option there, and your listeners should think about this option is to go out and start trying to develop relationships with these book companies, because like once you're approved, once you're in that category, like you're in. Like, that's the thing, is you got approved, you're in. Now you can sell your textbooks. So it's one of those things that if it doesn't blow over, that should be a real option for you and your community.
Yeah, it's certainly, and I'm going to look into that. But my thoughts the overall Amazon mission is to have low prices and high quality stuff for consumers.
Sure.
But if they were to restrict tons of Amazon textbook sellers, what would happen is that would result in just supply and demand says that would result in higher prices for textbooks on the platform. And I don't think that's Amazon's goal. But
you have to look at it from the perspective of customer experience in general. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how annoying is it? How annoying is it for me if I get on Amazon and I'm looking for a textbook and I buy it and I get the India edition?
Right.
It sucks. Like, that sucks as a customer. It like sours my experience and really, it's not something I want to go through as a customer. So they have to weigh the keeping prices down with keeping the customer. Because if I get on there and I'm buying enough fake stuff, I'm just never going to shop there again. It's like eBay. That's what happened to me in eBay. As I used to be a gung-ho eBay customer, but I went through a phase where everything I was buying was counterfeit garbage, and it just it was a nightmare. And then it's like, all right, I'm never buying from eBay again. Now I buy from Amazon as a consumer.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things is we as sellers, we have to protect that customer experience, and some of our, unfortunately, some of our cohorts and other colleagues aren't as in tune with the customer experience as we are. So I understand Amazon's frustration with trying to want to keep prices low, but also keep customers coming back over and over and over.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the wholesale formula. So you guys have had some great success, and you've had a lot of students now go through the course. Can you tell us a little bit about what the wholesale formula is?
Sure. So we've had, at this point, I think we've had over 1,400 students that have been through our course, and it's our training course that it's nothing fancy. Actually, it's nothing fancy at all. It's exactly what we do. It's a blueprint of our business model. Our business model is simple. And that it's simple in construction, but it's all based around systems. Like, honestly, me and Eric don't really work on our Amazon business very much at all. Greg was really surprised when he came in and was talking to Matt, and it was like, Matt handles the vast majority of our purchases and sales.
He's the head dork.
Yeah, he's our head dork. So it was funny. He's like, what kind of oversight does Matt have? And it's like, very little. Like, sometimes I'll talk to him if I say he did something wrong. But past that, we're able to do that because everything we buy is based on a system. So it's like, product meets these criteria, buy this many, and it's just math. That's what the wholesale formula is. It teaches you how to build systems and also how to build relationships with suppliers. Like, we've really transitioned a lot here in the past year into getting exclusives with vendors, and a lot of that's because we've been working with these suppliers for over a year now, and we've done really well and built fantastic relationships and built the necessary trust. So that's what our course is designed to do, is tell you how to walk you through that process of setting up these systems and ultimately developing awesome relationships with vendors.
Awesome. So, okay, guys. So if you guys go to busproofworkshop.com, you'll be able to sign up there, and Dan is actually going to sit with me for a little bit longer, and we're going to do a quick training series where we're going to give you 3 tips if you want to start getting into wholesale, and exactly how, like, what's the best way to start. We're going to get into all that. We just don't have the time to do that right now. But if you can, real quick, Dan, can you give us one tip if we wanted to move? It would be a sin to do this, but if you wanted to move away from books a little bit and into wholesale, what's one mistake I guess people make a lot?
No, I mean, I'll just tell you one thing you actually have to have. You cannot move forward until you have this one thing, is you need a state resale certificate if your state does it. Like some states don't, like New Hampshire and Montana and Oregon, I think, are not our tax exempt states, so they don't have it. But they have an equivalent form. But a wholesale company will not accept you without that paperwork. So make sure you have that. Like before you do anything, get your state resale certificate.
Awesome. Okay, terrific. So I'm pretty sure I have one. I think I have one for 3 different companies, I think.
Oh, wow. You're such a baller, Greg.
No, and honestly, Dan, so the way you should mark success is how many bathrooms that you have in your warehouse. That shows how successful that you are.
I have 2. How many you got, Greg?
I have more than 2. But that's my metric because I can win. We just happen to be in a massive warehouse where they had all these huge bathrooms. So we're very fancy. And remember, guys, so you can join me and Dan. Go to busproofworkshop.com. It'll have the details there. And remember, guys, make today count.
That's all for this episode of the Busproof Business Podcast. Be sure to point your browser to busproofworkshop.com to sign up for our mailing list and to get your opportunity to enroll in one of our specialized seminars, guaranteeing you continued results in typical Busproof fashion. Thanks again for joining us. We look forward to taking your business to the next level right here on the Busproof Business Podcast.